2 minutes to go. 2 minutes. Cecilia, she's here again. Hope you're doing well. We got an awesome class today, by the way. I'm really excited about today's class. This is some really good ninja-like stuff that very few people get to delve into. Today is going to be magic.
I like the Rex meeting. It's pretty good last night. I see my husband definitely.
I had so much. So we have, for those of you who are just logging in here, we got a minute or two. More people pile in. Once a month, I do a group called Rex, Real Estate Exchange. You're always welcome to attend. It's another free class. It's on Meetup. It's specifically for real estate investors. And we talked about ways to improve your units, rental units, things like that, little inexpensive ways. Some stuff was expensive, some stuff was inexpensive. Just ways to highlight and dress up your rentals. We had myself and another contractor who owns several apartment buildings and things that we do in order to make our buildings look beautiful and bring in more rent. But that was a great class last night. We'll give a few minutes. We just got a couple people here in the lobby. Remember how to use this. So I appreciate you guys muting your mics when you're, just in case, because normally when you're doing Zoom, the chainsaws in the background, children running in, who knows what it is, but anyway, make sure your mics are muted so we don't disrupt everybody else. And then if you have questions, either raise your hand or you can hit the little chat box down in the corner. All right, so there's Cecilia. She says, good morning, and I can see the chat box. If you have questions as we go through. And now you don't have to necessarily use the chat box. If you want, you can unmic yourself or something and speak up. I always love to hear your voices. It's always warmly appreciated. So today we're going to start off REBA University session 1, which is going to be talking about the fundamentals of building a phenomenal business. We'll give them just a second here while I'm checking some things out on the. More people log in here. All right. Excellent. Okay. Well, I hope you guys have had an amazing week. Interesting. So we're going to go over, let's start off by just going over some market statistics. I don't know if you guys have been watching the market closely and seeing what's going on. But it actually, I don't know if you guys, I've been running into a lot of multiple offers. Even some properties we had that had sat on the market for a long time weren't selling are now moving. Give you an idea, my latest reports are basically stating that in Anchorage right now, this is kind of interesting. There's 787 homes on the market right now. 787 residential. Now it strips out condos, Girdwood, because it's just residential. The same time last year, just to put things in perspective, let me see, 2000, I'm going to go May 2019, TMO reports. I'm going to go back. I was going to look for my TMO reports from 2019. But when I ran my numbers last time I checked, so we've currently got 787 residential single family homes on the market. The exact same time last year, this number was just over 900. Okay, so we're down a little over 120 residential houses in Anchorage from the same time last year, right? And if you think about what happened last year, what was it? Okay, that was 2019. What happened in November of 2018? You guys remember we had an earthquake, didn't we? So then we had this delayed reaction. And so what we had was interesting because what we had is you had all of January and February where you had a lack of inventory, and then it kind of exploded in that May. So that when inventory really started hitting the market. So last year was a very interesting year because there was a lot of concern over earthquake damage, and now we're into another year and we've got past earthquake damage, and now we've got a pandemic. We're just getting used to dealing with emergencies left and right? That's just what we deal. We hash through it. And here's what you know. This is why today's class is so fundamentally important, because I'm going to talk about the fundamentals of success in real estate. See, I've been a real estate investor for over 20 years, maybe going on 25 years. I've only been full-time in sales for about 15, 16 years. But I've never had, I can honestly say I've never had a bad year in real estate. Even when the market was crashing in 2009, 2010, I still had a good year. I just shifted. There's some things that you can be doing on a daily basis that no matter what is happening in the market, you can basically market proof your business, right? You have the ability to steer your business in the direction that you want to, and curtail that success if you choose, or you can choose for the market to take it, okay? And we'll talk about some fundamentals of why it's so important to own your market share and why it's so important to treat this like a business. All right. So again, the market stats are 787 houses currently on the market. In the last 30 days, 352 of those have sold, meaning that we have a 45% absorption rate. Okay, that's 45%. You have a 45% chance, looking at all real estate markets, of your house selling in less than 30 days. That's pretty awesome. In fact, if no more houses hit the market just in Anchorage, a single family, again, no condos, no Girdwood, no Eagle River, you're looking at only 2 months worth of inventory, 2.2 months. Now, in the last, expired in the last 6 months. In the last 6 months, only 73 houses have expired. It means only less than 10% of the market got rejected. This is important to note, because when you start seeing market shift or going down, you'll see this expired number in the last 6 months kind of go up. And so we watch these expired numbers, right? The average sales price in Anchorage, and this blows me away because I'm running my stats, $388,000 is the average sales price in Anchorage. $388,000. Guys, 4 or 5 years ago, this number was like 320, 319. When I was teaching market statistics and I was teaching business planning, which we're going to go over today, over at Big Red years ago, I remember that this number was 319. To see how much it's gone up, even in light of a pandemic and all this stuff, is phenomenal, okay? And of those houses, okay, average list of sales price is 99% with an average days on market of 58 days. Now, you take the 58 days on average, right? But there are some hot spots. The hottest selling markets right now, the lowest days on market are, it looks like 45 days on market is the lowest, and those are houses between 350 and 375. So 350 to 375, which again, that's our average, isn't that? That's right there in your 388, right, for average. So if you guys are out and as you're doing your lead generation, if you're looking for listings, and you really should be focusing your business on listings, you should be focusing on that inventory from 350 to 400. It is the hottest selling commodity. It's the high, like it's the bread and butter. It's the least level of resistance you're going to get. Okay. And the competition there is like, in fact, in that 350 to 375, get this, there's 45 houses on the market between 350 and 375. 26 of them sold in the last 30 days, meaning that you had 56% of that market get absorbed in the last 30 days, right? That's amazing. There's just over a month, 1.5, a month and a half of inventory. So, and those houses are selling for 99.9% list of sales price. So again, as we go out and we choose what market we're going to focus on, you guys do, you realize that, don't you? You have the ability to choose what houses and what listings you go after, right? If you were to just intentionally go out and preview every property that hits the market, be it vacant or schedule it or whatever you need to do, don't let COVID be an excuse for you to sit on your butt. If you were to intentionally preview 10 houses a week between 350 and 400, and you were to focus maybe first on Rogers Park, and you go out West Park and Bayshore and these areas where you find those, and you knew that inventory better than anybody else, what do you think of the likelihood that if you were talking to a buyer, you could pinpoint and say, this is the best deal and here's why? Oh, you're looking for this? Let me tell you. Guys, that's how you build your business. We're going to go into those business fundamentals. You got to know your statistics for a couple reasons. One, so you can help your clients be phenomenal in pricing their properties and get above average results, right? Second thing is that you need to know the market so you know what listings are worth taking, okay? I don't know about you, but I'm not too passionate about taking a residential listing that's $1.5 to $2 million, knowing that there's 5 on the market, none have sold in the last 60 days, and the average days on market is 200. Okay, it's a lot of money and a lot of effort and a lot of what you're gonna wait. See, I don't want to wait 7 months to get paid if it does sell, right? You know, it's interesting on that is the 5 houses that are on the market, 3 have expired in the last 6 months. It means you're more likely to have your listing expire than sell, right? So there's certain markets you just don't want to go after. So you need to pinpoint. All right, guys. So before we get started here, looks like we got a good participation. Today is session 1 of Real Estate University, REBA University. So what is REBA University? Guys, for over 16 years, I've taken every coaching class and everything that you have. I've got stockpiles of manuals sitting next to my desk of stuff that I've taken over the years, and pages and pages and pages of notes from all these classes. And I just basically stripped out all the BS and took the most critical parts I have found to be phenomenally important. The stuff that's all in every single one of them, the fundamentals that they all share, and the things I personally have experienced extreme value from, okay? Tell you a little bit about my story. You guys may or may not know much about me, but I got into real estate in 2007/8. And if you guys knew what was happening in 2008, the market was just beginning to get down. In fact, we had just gone through the whole the Enron fiasco, and I don't know how I missed it, but I literally I got out of the Union 669 after spending like 16 years as a pipe fitter up on the slope. And just as I got out, I had my retirement, and they said, Kevin, you need to roll it over into a self-directed, or you're gonna have to cash it out and pay the taxes. And I had almost 200 in there, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna cash it out. So I've had to pay it. I walked away with like 120 after taxes. I was like, crap, right? Cashed it out, put it in the bank. And that's what I funded my first couple years in real estate. So I was like, I have the money, now I can make a transition, okay? When I did that, I think it was within 45 days, the market just crashed, and all my buddies who had their money in the retirement account lost like 80 cents on the dollar, because we were a union and they invested heavily in in their 401ks and a lot of tech stocks and stuff. So we saw all that just crumble underneath. And so I got real lucky. So I used that money to fuel. My first year in real estate, I took Rookie of the Year for what was Keller Williams. I did 11 million in sales in my first 12 months in business, okay? So they gave me this big fancy trophy. And we're gonna talk about how I got $11 million in my first year in business. In fact, I'm here to tell you, do you know what percentage my business came from friends and family and people that I knew? 0, because everybody I knew me as Kevin Cross, the pipe fitter, not Kevin Cross, the real estate guy. Those relationships, I thought for certain they do business with me, but you're the guy who comes over and fixes their hot water heater if there is a problem, or you're the guy that helps them fix a deck if there's wood rot. You're not the guy they think of if they want you to help them succeed in selling their house or buying a property. So I literally had to go out and I had to recreate myself. I had to go find all new business from scratch. And it wasn't until I proved myself 2 or 3 years in the business that I found a lot of the people I knew then trusted me, okay? To help them with their real estate goals. So you may find yourself in that situation where you get into the business, or perhaps you've been doing it, or perhaps you're changing careers. And the problem is that you are not their mindset. You are not their default for like real estate. And it's up to you to change that, okay? So what we're gonna go in here is I'm gonna go ahead and share screen real quick. We're gonna do a little PowerPoint here, and give me just a second. We're gonna start with REBA University. Let's go slideshow from beginning. All right. Let me go to my, just 1 second. I think I need to end show real quick. I'm gonna share screen real fast before I do that. Here we go. All right, we're gonna share screen. You should be able to see my screen. And then I'm gonna bring this up in a PowerPoint. Play from start. All right, so here we are. Oh, you should be able to see that. Let's look at it. That's okay. I don't care if you guys can see everything. It's good enough. You guys see that well enough? Let me bring up my chat box. I'm gonna bring up, give me just a second to set some of these. more. I want to mute. Bring up a chat box so I can see you guys. I'll move you guys over here. Oh, here we go. Hold on just a second. Give me just a second while I screw with my screens here. I'm gonna do a new share. There we go. Boom. All right. Beautiful. This allows me to then see the chat box. There we go. Oh, no, I think I just screwed that up again. This is why I can't have nice things. This is why I should have a tech person. Let me just make sure I get this new share. Yeah, let's just do that screen. And then, all right. Slideshow. Play from start. All right. New share. All right, we'll make that work. Okay. All right, you guys let me know if you're looking at the REBA University screen here, because I cannot share screen and know what you're seeing at the same time. It makes it difficult, but hopefully you should be seeing University, REBA University Foundations of Success. Okay. So first off is establishing your standards. Guys, if you want to dramatically improve the quality of your life, improve your standards. This applies to everything. You know, you hear like energy attracts like energy, and you hear a lot of this stuff, but really it just comes down to having expectations, not only of the individuals you choose to surround yourself with, but for the way you live your life on a daily basis. I have never heard anybody say that they got greater success by lowering their standards. In fact, what you typically find is people who have a really high level of success in their life have very definitive standards, and they have of what they want. So what is a standard, okay? If you had to describe, what do you consider? What is that? What do you think a standard is, and what does that mean to you? Right? I'm giving you guys a chance. This is a participation. This is not a lecture. What is a standard? I'm gonna sit quietly until at least one person answers. Okay, Sylvia says a very specific goal. It can be a specific goal. Okay. A minimum requirement. Yep, Zach, there you go. You have a minimum requirement. Okay. So I want you guys to think about what a standard is, and here's what a standard is. Standard means that it's something, it's a rule or something you establish in your life that has consequences if it doesn't happen, right? There's a standard. Listen, if you do not have a standard, then you have a suggestion, and suggestions have no accountability. Do you have standards in your family for your children when they need to be home and what needs to happen and what they're supposed to do? And if they don't meet that standard, there's a consequence. Well, enough of us don't create enough standards in our life that there's consequences. We don't hold ourselves accountable, and we don't have standards for the way you should live, and therefore everything is a suggestion. And guess what? If you don't have such suggestions, you don't have accountability, and you don't have you don't have a business. What if you just did your real estate without contracts? What if we just went into it and said, you know what, hey, I'm pretty sure they're going to get their home inspection by this date, pretty sure their owner appraisal, pretty sure he's going to show up for closing. Would you even be in the business, and would it even be survivable? No. Right? The reason we have contracts, and contracts are written, is because there's standards involved with it. Now, do you treat your business and do you treat your real estate business like with standards, or do you treat it with suggestions? Because if you're treating your business with suggestions, then guess what? No wonder you're not in, you think that you've been in business for 15 or 20 years, but you're in your first year of business for the 15th or 20th time. Every year you're relearning because you don't have standards. You don't have a business plan. You don't have a model. So today we're going to focus on standards for success. These are things you should really focus on. First, number one, 60% of your income should come from listings. Why is it so critical that you own listings? As a brokerage, why do we want to own the inventory? It's you, it's your market. Why do you want to own it? Some answers to that. A minimum requirement. Listing agents control it. You do. Guys, I've used this a million times. You guys heard me say this a couple times. You're selling a commodity. What's another commodity? You can sell bicycles, right? So there are a couple different ways. Let's say you're really into bicycles, and I got into the bicycle business because I love bicycles. A couple different ways you can sell bicycles. You can wander up and down the coastal trail and look for people riding crappy bicycles, or people had their bicycles stolen, and say, hey, I know a place to get great bicycles. And then you can wander all around going bicycle store to bicycle store, trying to find bicycles that fit them. And then when they buy this darn bicycle, hope that they pay you, or that they don't find a better deal while you're sleeping, and then go buy a bicycle from somebody else. Or you can own the bicycle store and just people come to you and you've got everything. Guys, you got to own the inventory. Name one product or one commodity out there where the best part of the business isn't in owning the inventory. Guys, there isn't one, right? When you own the inventory, you dominate the market because people have to come to you. Second, the reasons that we list properties is to find buyers. Have you guys ever had a phenomenal listing where the phone just blows up and people are calling you like, what's this deal? Look at this house. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, that's what listings do. Listings feed you, okay? By the way, how many A buyers, that's a buyer looking to buy or sell in the next 30 days, right? Somebody who's dramatic. How many A buyers can you realistically handle at one time? 5, 6? Yeah, you're showing properties every night. You're frantic, you're looking, you're just running around. But how many A sellers can you? By the way, every seller who lists their property is an A seller. They put a sign in the yard, put the photos all over and say, I want to sell my house. Every seller is a motivated seller if you've had the right conversations on identifying their goals. So every seller is an A seller, but not all buyers are A buyers. They don't have all the same motivation. Some are just tire kickers. But how many listings can you carry? Guys, I can carry 20, 25 listings with as much effort as I carry 5 buyers. And guess what? They pay the same. If you have 5 A buyers who desperately want to find a house, can you go camping this weekend? Can you take 3 days off to go camping? Who's going to show them properties? Guys, if you have 20 listings, as long as you have internet connection, could you go camping this weekend? Absolutely. You don't even have to do the open house. You can leverage that out and let someone else do it. You can negotiate offers from your phone. Guys, listings offer the greatest leverage and they're the greatest thing. So 60% of your income from listings. You want to change your life, change your attitude, and just be specific on going after listings. And that goes to number 2. You better master your listing conversions. If 60% of your income needs to come from listings, then you need to master what it takes to get listings. All right? And so that means dealing, what does that mean to master listing conversions? Dealing with objections. There's only 5 objections that a seller has to not selling their house with you. Did you know that? There's only 5? 5 reasons. I want you to think of that expired listing that just hit off the market and they're not choosing not to list or they don't want to sell. Why? Guys, number 1, they're taking off the market. They're going to wait till next year. Number 2, they're going to relist with the same agent. 3, they're going to go for sell by owner. 4, they're going to rent it out. They're going to do something. And 5, where were you and why didn't you help me sell the house and everybody sucks? Okay? There's only 5 objections. If you guys know how to handle the 5 basic objections of a seller, of an expired listing or a FSBO, guys, once you master those 5 objections, the business is yours. You should be running a 50% conversion on listings. But most people never take the time to basically digest the 5 different objections. If every time you went into a listing appointment and you got shot down, you wrote down why they rejected you or why they didn't do it, and then you mastered a script or dialogue or objection handle around that, how long would it take you to master that? Well, that's what a real business does. A real business goes in and says, hey, listen, you know what? We went to build this deck and the stairs didn't work out right. How do we better improve our stairs next time we do it? Every business does that. You as a real estate licensee should be doing that too. So you're going to master listing conversions and objections. Number 3, you should be attending 1 real estate boot camp a year. I don't care what that is. You can go to like Cochran Coaching or go to Kevin Yield, Yes Masters. I don't care where it is or what it is. You can go online, but you should really be expanding your education and just your knowledge. Listen, I like to think that I have all the answers, but the truth is I don't. Everything I know, I've accumulated from a multitude of different places. I highly encourage you to be voraciously curious and do the same. Again, you want a characteristic trait that's phenomenal in helping you be successful in life, have high standards, and be voraciously curious, right? Pre-qualify all your appointments. You guys are not other people's realtortainment. Get that again. You are not realtortainment. You should not be going out and showing houses to individuals that are not pre-qualified. If they do not have if they can't take the time out of their day to call a lender or go online and fill out a loan application, what the hell are they doing? And if you want a great script, I just tell them, hey, listen, I'd love to show you this house. Listen, COVID is perfect for just for weeding out the tire kickers. I'm sorry, right now, we're not allowed to show properties to people who are not pre-qualified with a lender and able to produce a 90% or pre-approval. If you want to see a house and you're serious about it, you have to do this. We cannot be allowing tire kickers in people's homes right now. Just use that as an excuse to make sure they all get pre-qualified and save your time. Okay, pre-qualify all your appointments. If you have a listing appointment, pre-qualify them. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell your house? Why is that? Okay, 7. Excellent. What would have to happen in your life in order to make that an 8 or a 9? What circumstances are you thinking might drive that? Right? Here's questions that you should be asking your clients to pre-qualify them. Guys, only deal with the highly motivated and wildly gracious. If you lead generate enough, you're pre-qualifying your appointments and you're focusing and you're spending it like a business rather than a recreational hobby in real estate, then you can strip off and you can fire the people you don't want to work with. I probably fire 4 or 5 people a year, which I just go, I don't want to handle your listing anymore. I'm done with you. I got better things to do than deal with someone who's not thankful. By the way, why do I have the ability to choose my clients and choose who I don't want to work with? Because I'm very intentional about lead generating and converting and only working with pre-qualified appointments, right? If you discover this in roofing contractors and really good contractors, guys who do repairs, the really good contractors, yeah, if your job sucks, they're not going to take it. And if you're cheap and you're just trying to get up, they're like, nah, I don't want you. We're going to go work with people. Listen, you should have the same respect for yourself, the same respect for your business. And the reason that you work with crappy people and the reason you take crappy listings is because you don't treat your business like a business. And so you'll take whatever you can get. And sorry about that, but that's on you. Okay. Pre-qualify your appointments too. 2 to 3 hours of lead follow-up and conversions every day. Okay. They used to say that you guys have heard this around the 80-20 rule. 80% of your success comes from 20% of your activities. Guys, the most important thing that you can do in real estate is follow up. If you spent 80% of your time when you're lead generating, following up with past clients, seeing how the house is going, letting them know how are you doing, and you spent 20% of your time just calling new leads and then following up with those 5 to 7 times, guys, that's huge. What is the #1 complaint people have with real estate professionals? They didn't follow up. Or they tried to sell them something. You thought that they treat you like they're a used car salesman, and the minute you walk on the lot, if they don't get you in contract, well then they move on. Don't be that person, right? We're a relationship business. If you're not in the business of building relationships, Zillow will replace you faster than you can blink. So understand that your business comes from voracious lead follow-up. Follow-up like nobody does. What constitutes following up? Okay, what constitutes following up, guys? I'm waiting for a response. I will sit here patiently. Phone calls, text, email. Yeah, Jeremy, I would say most prominently it's phone calls. Guys, write this down. You better be writing all this down in a journal. You better be keeping it. You better be writing, again, I'm not your realtortainment. I'm here to help you be successful. That means having a higher level of accountability. I all hope you have a spiral notebook and you're writing voraciously and you have an extra pen so you don't run out of ink. But here's the deal. The conversation is the relationship. I want you to think of the closest relationships you have in your life. And if you were to strip out conversations and you reverted it down to text and emails, how long would they last? They wouldn't. It wouldn't make it 30 days. You expect people to donate, or you expect people to trust in you in the largest financial commitment decision they will most likely make in your life, and you revert it down to text and emails. Guess what? No wonder Zillow is so successful. That's on us. If we were all great about following up with our clients, if you were all great about having conversations with them and taking genuine interest in who they are as a human being, those places wouldn't even exist. But we've allowed it to happen because you got lazy. You figured text and emails and spam mails. Dude, I don't like, I have a philosophy. I will never do ego marketing. Like, you don't see my face on I have this is just my philosophy. It's not saying it has to be yours, but I don't believe in ego marketing. Some people got to have, listen, I've had big fancy signs. I've had very audacious, proud signs with my face on them and really fancy real estate signs and all that. And I'm here to tell you, nobody buys a property or sells a property because of the color of the sign or the picture on or the logo on it. They buy or sell a property because of the value that you bring to that transaction. And you don't do it through text and emails. You eventually have to pick up the phone and have dialogue with the individuals, and you have to call them. Guys, if you're not lead following up every day, if you're not calling your database, it is dying. Okay? It either grows or it dies. And every decision that you make every day is either to grow your business or let it die. Every day, you either grow your business. Guys, it's like a boulder on a flat hill. Every day you have to push it. Now, when do you exert the most amount of energy? When you first get that boulder rolling. I want you to think of your business like a jet plane, okay? When does a jet plane burn the most amount of fuel? On takeoff. But once it gets up to takeoff and it gets up to altitude and it's checking all its gauges, it still can't just turn the engines off and glide, because if it's trying to glide, guess what it's doing? It's slowly crashing. No, then it's just maintaining, and then the regular. Guys, your lead generator, when you first get into business, you may be lead generating for 6 or 10 hours a day. You be going visiting properties and you're just exerting yourself, and you're like, oh my gosh, but that's what it takes. Just like going to school. When you went to college, when you first went to college, if you remember the exams and you were just packed, it was like, oh my gosh, this is a nightmare. But once you got it figured out, and you discovered what it takes, then we just continue. Guys, your real estate business is treated the same way. You're going to be lead generating and then focus on follow-up. Next, you should be doing 1 hour of practicing objection handling. I talked a little bit about the 5 reasons that a seller doesn't sell. Well, why doesn't a buyer want to buy? What are some of the objections? Right? And do you know how to handle those? And do you understand how to communicate and how to coach somebody through objections, or somebody who's indecisive? These are all things that you can bring, and we'll be discussing these further and going into these further into Real Estate University. But these are also things that on your own you can go out and research and find. However, you should be practicing objection handling. Write down objections, write down the things that people give you pushback on, and then be a master and a steward of understanding how to handle those and internalize it. Okay? Next, we got memorize your value proposition. We had a great conversation with Zach about this earlier this week, okay? So Zach and I do coaching. If you guys are interested in coaching, let me know. That is available here at REBA. But Zach and I were coaching earlier this week, and we talked about mastering your value proposition. So here's what that looks like. I think it's very important for you to realize that you cannot give what you do not have. Okay, I want you to think about that. How do you give something to somebody if you don't have it yourself? How do you instill confidence in your ability to provide a service for an individual if you're not confident in yourself? How do you instill peace and wisdom into a transaction if you're not peaceful? Right? This reminds me of, you guys may be blown away by this, but I actually used to be a Sunday school teacher for about 8 years. Right? I was a youth director and Sunday school teacher, and the children and the young kids and teenagers particularly would always come, and they were always very upset about something that was going on in life. Some of them had really tragic things, and some of them were just really pissed off about inconveniences. And what you see is that if you look back at your life, the greatest lessons that you learned were things that actually came through trials and tribulations. Okay? If you want to learn to be good with money, go broke. Right? If you want to learn to be patient, then have to deal with something that tests your patience. But the point is that when you move forward and you move through that trial and that tribulation, and you've instilled those skills and you have those skills in yourself, then you're able to help somebody else who's been there. Guys, you want to help a seller? Have you ever sold your house? I think sometimes as real estate professionals, we need to move every 2 years. Just remember how much it sucks. right? So then we can help people. But memorize your value proposition. That is, what is it about you that you bring to the equation that's a benefit to your client, okay? And not just a feature, but a real benefit. My value proposition, again, when I was in construction was, hey, listen, I'm not a sales guy, okay? I'm a construction guy in a salesman world. And the reason, Mr. Seller, that's a benefit to you is that I learned some fundamental principles that work phenomenally in real estate. Number one, you got to have a plan. Number two, you got to surround yourself with voracious problem solvers. 3, you work, you trust in God, but you work like it's up to you. And 4, you really just got to have, yeah, I guess that's the 3. I guess there was just 3. I was thinking there was a 4th one. But the first one, again, you got to have a plan, surround yourself with phenomenal human beings. And number 3, trust in God, but work like it's up to you. Now, if those 3 things sound like something that's important to you and getting your household, then I'm the right fit. Now, that's a value proposition. That's just speaking to someone in regards to those values. It doesn't matter what you've done in life. I don't care if you painted mailboxes. If your job was like you literally worked for Doug's House of Poodle Grooming and mailbox painting, and you're like, how does that help? Guys, there's patience. Hey, you know what? As a mailbox painter, I learned attention to detail. I learned that everybody has different tastes and you have to respect the opinions of others. Like there's things that you can pull out of it that says, oh, you know what? That makes sense to me. So you have to memorize your value proposition. We're going to work on some value propositions in the next session. 2, write a business plan. Okay. Well, that's another thing on the real estate. That's, as a value proposition, having a great set of plans. I want you guys to think of anything, and I know this isn't stressed enough in real estate, is to have specific plans. Do you guys have a financial goal for this in real estate? And do you know how many transactions you need to conduct and get done in order to reach that financial goal? And do you know how many of your transactions can fall apart or DFT and still reach your goal? Guys, if you don't know these numbers, you're not in business. You're in a hobby. You try to find me one phenomenal company that doesn't know its numbers and know how many sales it needs to make in order to be profitable, stay in there. If that's the way you're running your business, I'm sorry for it, but you're not in the business. You were clinging with fingertips until you're pushed out. Because there's enough individuals out there who do know their business and are intentional. And when things get tough, they go, you know what, we're shifting. Here's where the market is. I know my numbers is what we need to focus on. And they go get it. Right? And there's some very, very successful agents in this town that you may or may not like. But the fact of the matter is they're really good at running a business. Okay? And you cannot deny them that attribute. They're phenomenal at it. And there's a reason they keep showing up in the top 20. Finally, write a business plan. And finally, keep a journal and a timesheet. Treat it like a business. Guys, you got to have a timesheet. You guys got to be tracking your hours. If you're not showing up and say, I'm in the office every day by this time, and I go, like this, I have a schedule every day, right? Get up between 6:30 and 7. Usually I sit at the house. I go through my emails. I go through stuff at home. Take the dogs on a walk. Take them on an early morning walk so I can get that out and think about my day. Create a to-do list on my phone, right? Go back to the house, recheck some emails. Then I check the hot sheet. I spend every morning between 8 and 9 o'clock at home looking at my hot sheet, looking at what's new on the market, what is the best deals before I'm interrupted, before I get in the office. Then I try to be in the office by 9 o'clock. By that time, I've done all my basic stuff I need to in order to have a good foundation for the beginning of my day. And then from 9, time block. Guys, it's time block. If you guys don't have a time block, if you're not watching your schedule, then you don't have a business. And you should be journaling, which is what were your successes, so you can see what went well, so you can build upon it, and then what didn't go well, so that you can improve upon that as well, and that is keeping a journal and timesheet. If you're lead generating and calling leads, or you're going on listing appointments, they're not going well, write down what didn't go well and what skills you need to improve on. That's what football teams do. That's what every team does. Every time they hit the field, they play a game, they learn from it. So these are your standards for success. These are the things that no matter what real estate course you take, they're going to tell you. Know your numbers. Treat it like a business. Prescript and practice objection handling. Know your value. Have a business plan. Educate yourself and master listings. Guys, I don't care. I just saved you guys thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars by going to stuff and tell you that if you just do these things. right there. Okay, you will be phenomenally successful. So let's go into the next one, standard 6. Anybody want any questions regarding any of these things before we move on? Okay, because the next thing we're talking about is business plan. I'm gonna give you guys just a couple seconds while I drink a little bit of water. Nobody has any questions. You're all just completely floored by wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That's what I love about it, okay? Okay, so the next thing, now that we understand that these are the fundamentals, now we need to build our business around these. Who'd be interested in doing an hour in a week of objection handling with me, Zach says to everyone. There you go. You know, if you guys can pick a time and I'm in the office here, I'll even help you. I have so many books on scripts and dialogues. If you guys want to start, if you guys get together, and I'm not going to tell you to do it because I'm not your dad, but if you want to get together and say, we want to do objection handling, you want to do that, I will give you and I will share with you all my scripts and knowledge. Oh, there's Janine. She's like, me. Good job, Janine. All right. So there we go. We already got 2 people who are willing to build their business. Are you guys willing? I love that. See, I love this. You guys get together. You guys form some text messages, get together and let me know what time, and I'll make sure you guys have some fantastic resources. I'll even show up and be the grumpy seller who doesn't want to, you know, the grumpy seller who's hard to convert, makes you want to go home and cry. All right. So now let's go into the next one. Building a business plan. So guys, if you want to, I mean, how do you know what you're doing on a daily basis is going to make you the money you need to save in this, okay? It's very, very simple to figure out what you need to do. And so what we're going to walk through what a business plan is, and then I'll show you what my business plan, and you can kind of get an idea of how this works, okay? So first, you got to know what is the money that you want to make in this business, okay? Now, the next thing is you got to understand what if you know your income, then you got to figure out what is your average sales price. And maybe your average sales price in Anchorage, okay? Or in the Matsu Valley, what the average sales price of a house is. And why do you think that's important? Well, that's because based on your average sales price, we can figure out what the commission is, and then we can figure out how many houses I need to sell, right? But not all houses sell. Not all houses sell. Only a certain percentage of, and a certain percentage of your listings should be buyers, and a certain percent of your listings should be seller. Now, notice what I just did there. I didn't say a certain amount of your listings, you have listings and you have buyers. I said you both have listings. They're just both buyer and seller. Guys, do you consider buyers listings? And if not, why? You should seriously be addressing because they're buyers. Well, the problem is, well, they are, but hold on. It is just an individual who's looking to achieve a real estate goal. Okay. Now let me ask you, would you ever put a sign in a yard and put pictures on the MLS and advertise a listing for a seller without a listing agreement? Would you ever invest in all the money that it takes in order to help somebody sell their house, knowing that if somebody comes and knocks on the door, they could just sell it and you're screwed? Well, then why do you do that for buyers? Why do you put them in your car and show them houses and meet them and give up your weekends and do stuff without any kind of agreement or extreme expectation or a standard by which you conduct business? I'm sorry, Mr. Buyer, but you know, the fact of the matter is that, you know, my time is valuable and so is yours. And the best thing for you is find somebody who's going to voraciously fight for you and represent you and find you the best deal in real estate. And if you're just hopping around going to seller or whatever it is, the truth is you'll never find somebody who has your best interest. Okay? And that's fine if you want to conduct business that way. I just don't. Now, if you want somebody who's going to be your vicious little chihuahua of real estate and go out and, you know, hold on to grab the pant leg, get an awesome deal and drag it to your feet, well, then that's what I do. But I only work for people who agree to compensate me for my hard work. Okay. Now, if you can agree with that, then I'm happy to help you. But if you just want to, you know, call me if you have something, well, then there's plenty of other realtortainment out there for you to spend your time with. And I wish you the best of luck. Guys, just have high standards. By the way, an individual with high standards, when you present that to them, are they attracted to that or are they driven away? No, people with high standards like other people with high standards. And like, dude, thank you so much for explaining how this works. The only shortcoming is your belief that a buyer won't dedicate themselves to you, or two, you don't understand your value and you can't give what you don't have. And if you can't express your value, no wonder they don't want to stick to you and use only you. That's, again, on you, okay? So you have listings. You need buyer and sellers. They're both individuals looking for real estate needs. They're just on opposite sides of the same coin. And we need to know what percentage of your business comes from both, okay? And then you have, based on that, then obviously if you have listings coming, I need to know the appointments needed to obtain at least one listing buyer or seller. And then if, in order to get one listing, how many of appointments do it? And then your daily contact goals. So we burned through that, but let me show you real quick what that looks like. Here is a perfect example. So this is my goal. My goal annually is $350,000 a year net. Okay, I want to net 350. That doesn't mean make, it means I want in my pocket. So what does that mean? If I want to net 350, I've got 25% after deductions and taxes. So I need to make 350 times 1.25. Because I actually need to make $437,000 in order to keep 350. But then I also have the $3,000 a year that I pay to REBA, and you probably do too, which means I need to make $440,500. $440,500 after expenses to the brokerage, and then after taxes nets me $350, and that's a really nice mountain bike. So what does that mean? Let's go to line number 3. That means my average sales price, now mine is $450. Okay, now yours may be more, yours may be less. If you don't know what your average sales price is because you're new in the business, then just figure the market average of $350 or $388 for Anchorage, $275, $250 for the Valley. Okay. Now, obviously, if you sell a lot of land, you're going to have to do a lot more, and your numbers are going to be different. But it just depends on how long you've been in the business. Otherwise, you can just go with the law of averages. The law of averages say the average sales price $350, call it $375 in Anchorage, $350, and $100,000 less in the Valley. So my average commission at 0.025, because you don't always get 3%, you don't always, sometimes you get 2.5. So I figured I'll go on the lower side of that. My average commission is closer to 0.0275, but I always err on the side of caution. So I've got my average commission, means my average commission is $11,250. Now I'm going to take $11,250. I'm going to divide it into $440,500. You see how that works? Real simple. I take the $440,500 and I divide it by the number, and I need 39.1 transactions, or I just round up. I need 40 closings in a year. If I close 40 based on $450, I will net after taxes $350,000. How awesome is that? So now it's, what do I got to do to get 40 closings? This is the huge eye-opening. Most of you guys don't even know how many closings you need to have in a year to hit your financial goals. That in and of itself is probably eye-opening to you. By the way, think about it. If you divide that in half and you figure you're happy with $175,000 net, you realize that means it's only 20 closings. Guys, if you just went out and focused on listings around $400,000 and $450,000, and you could just do 2 of those a month, you could be making $200,000 a freaking year after taxes. If you think of that, what does that clarity mean to you? Every day that you get to work and you're not lead generating, you're not following up, and you're doing these things, you are basically, again, your plane is heading towards the ground and you don't even know it. It's not difficult. It just takes focus. So now I got 40 closings. Now of my closings, you remember, I want 60% to come from my business. So look at the lower left-hand column. Now seller listings of 60% means I want 24 listings, right? And on the other side, you can see buyer listings at 40%. I need 16. So let's just look at the listing column here. If I want 60%, I need 24 listings. That's obviously 2 a month, right? 24 listings, 2 a month. That needs to sell. But not all listings sell, do they? So I need to take enough listings not only to close, but have my fallout. The MLS average for expired listings is 30%. Did you know 30% of listings that hit the market don't sell? Yeah. That's startling. That should be eye-opening for you. That's another reason you want to master inventory, master selling. And by the way, 30% of listings don't sell. That means there's a crap ton of expired listings out there for you to go out and convert. I love expired listings. You want to know why? Because they're motivated. They said they'd work with a realtor, and we know what price doesn't work. It's easy. It's easy money. Okay. So what does that mean? That means I need to take the 24 I need to close plus the 6 that I figure are going to expire, and I need 30 listings in a year. Now, although I need 30 listings, I have to take not every appointment that I go on, follow the math. Not everybody that I go on a listing appointment lists their house with me, do they? No, I get about 50%. 50% list, and the other 50 are like A or B leads, or it doesn't work, or whatever it is. Now we decided not to sell. We're not serious, maybe next week. But your conversions may be higher. Your conversions may be lower. You can start with 50%. If you're new in the business, maybe you put in at 25% conversions, and you have to increase your appointments until you develop phenomenal skills. Okay? I rarely ever lose a listing anymore. And that's just because I was intentional about listing objections, okay? So as you develop your skill sets, no different than riding a bike. How often can you pull off a wheelie? Well, it depends on how hard you practice at it, right? So you have 50% conversions. That means 60 listing appointments in a year. If I take the days in a year, 365, and divide it by 60, I need 1 listing appointment every 6 days. Let's just call it once a week. Monday through Friday, if I can have 1 listing appointment and 1 in-depth conversation with an individual about selling their property, I'm on track. Understanding that between now and next week, within the next 2 weeks, I'll be taking a listing. So if I'm taking a listing every 2 weeks, and I'm having intentional conversations, I know right where I'm going to be for my listing. We can do the same thing with buyers. We go to the buyer side of your column. You can do your buyer listing at 40%, 16. Fallout is 20%. I have a lot less buyers fall out. Now, you might say that your fallout is 30%. You might say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm not as good with buyers, or gosh, I really have trouble converting them. Then just adjust your conversions where needed. But I figure out of 16 people, I lose 2, means they don't end up buying or whatever the reason. So my buyer listing, I need 18 buyers to get under contract. If my conversion rate, so fallout would be DFTs. I have about 25% of my deals, so that's 20% of my deals DFT, excuse me. So that's if I write 16 contracts, 2 of them don't close on the buyer side because of home inspection issues, which means I need 18 to write to get them back in contract. Now, of the 18, my conversion is really high with buyers. I'm really great with buyers and buyer consultations, so I usually convert 80% of them. I also work with really good credit counselors and other people, so as long as they got a credit score of 575 or above, usually within 45 to 60 days, I can fix their credit, or I can convert them or move it. So that means I need 22 buyer appointments. Do the same math. 365 divided by 22 means 1 A buyer. 1 buyer appointment needed every 17 days. I like to round stuff, and that just means I need to convert 1 buyer every 2 weeks. So if I can make 1 listing appointment a week and 1 buyer appointment every 2 weeks with my average conversions, focused on a $450,000 average sales price, I'll make $350,000 net. So this is what's critical about doing this exercise. It gives you very, very clear objections on what you have to do on a weekly basis. Every day when I get up, did I have a conversation with someone about selling their house? And did I have a conversation with a buyer about needing to buy? Did I ask for business? If I go 3 days, listen, if it's Thursday and I don't have a listing appointment and I don't have a buyer's appointment, guess what happens? It's all freaking hands on deck. Thursday, I don't get to go enjoy myself and go ride a bicycle and go do who knows what it is. Guess what? I'm working late that night and I'm blowing up the phones because if I really want to make $350, then I need to work and I need to earn it. And I don't go home till I make an appointment. So let me check. So anybody, just checking our chat box if anybody has any questions on that. So real quick, does anybody want to be a guinea pig? Anybody want to do this? And we want to work this together? Is this an exercise you feel as if you can do? If you need some help with this, put your hand up and let me know if we need to help you one-on-one. If this math is a little confusing for you, but I'm more than happy to help you do this. I can do this in about 20 minutes in my office. I've helped dozens of people figure out their financial or their business plan, financial business plan. Okay. Let me know if there's anybody out there, but this is important. You have to know the number of closings you need. You have to. How do you build a business plan if you don't know how many sales you need to make in order to make this business worth it? All right. Okay. So now that I know this, and I need to focus on 40, and more importantly, now I know that I need one listing appointment every 6 days and one buyer appointment every 17 days. What's the next thing I need to develop? Okay. What do I need to develop next? I know the production. So what's left? Is that it? Do I just, okay, Kev, I guess, well, now I know how much sales I need. I guess I'll just go on the street and hold up a sign. We'll sell real estate for food. What's the next step? Lead generation plan. There you go. Now it's an action plan or lead generation plan. That's exactly right. Okay. I was going to stop the screen share for a second. Okay. So let's go to the lead generation plan. That is your action plan. All right. Building your action plan. Now, if you go to a couple different business planning clinics and stuff, they have different ways of doing a goal, but basically call them a 1-3-5 or 1-3-3-5. There's a couple different ways to do it. Essentially, it's just a way of breaking it down. You basically, here's my goal. In this one, it would be make $350,000 net. What are the 3 strategies critical to achieving the goal? And then there are 3 to 5 action plans that must take in order to achieve each strategy. That's how you break it down. Now, you might even say that you have add on to that, you might do a 1 through 3, which is what are 3 things that can go wrong and what is 1 thing that you can do about it, right? So here's what the 1-3-5 would look like, okay? So here's what this is a 1-3-5 I threw together. This isn't exactly what it looks like, but I tried to use this as if I were you, if I were in your position, okay? This is what a 1-3-5. Here's my goal. I want to make $350,000 and I understand what I need to do. Obviously, that pertains to I need 40 listings, as you can see. I need 22 buyer listings. And in order to do that, I need to make sure I'm focused on really good systems and education in order to support this. So something needs to happen. Now, we may change some of these, and you may decide that this isn't exactly, or yours is a little bit different, which is fine. But let's just take a look at this. So under 40 listings, I want to get 40 listings. What are the things I would need to do? What are the standards I'm going to have? 1, preview 5 properties weekly. Why is it so critical to preview properties, guys? Why is that such a fundamental part of your business, and yet so very few people do it? Why do we need to preview? And I know there's a little bit of delay. That's okay. Okay. Why do we need to preview properties? Guys, you got to know your inventory. Yeah, there you go. Jeremy Brown nailed it right in. Guys, if you don't know your inventory, if you don't know why one house is $350,000, meanwhile a house or block over that looks almost identical, the same floor plan layout is $325, and yet that one wasn't selling, the one for like, if you don't know and you haven't looked at it, guys, you got to know your thanks, Val. You got to know your inventory. You know, if you knew the inventory, you knew why property was selling because you had looked at them and you'd preview them, listings for you would come naturally, because I will tell you that your confidence and market knowledge will overcome a vast level of personality defects, okay? You can have bad hair, bad breath, and be dressed badly, but if you know the market, you know how to sell it, and you're confident in it, you will still more likely get that listing than the person who shows up pretty but uninformed. That's it. Now you know the market and you polish yourself up some, all right, you're a double threat. So preview 5 properties weekly. And if you really want, does it have to be just 5? Does it have to be? No. Who says you can't do 10 or 15? Guys, it's all up to you how aggressive you want to be. But for me, 5 properties a week I try to go through. I look at something that's on the market. Heck, I got to run errands today. I'm going to go preview it. I'm going to check it out. Be an inventory expert. Next, role play listing objections, 3 hours a week, okay? So 1 hour, 3 times a week. If you really want to know it, this is, again, master your objection handlers. 3, maybe it's choose a farm, and that is pick a specific area to know better than anybody else. Be consistent in doing open houses in that area so that the neighbors get to know you and get to recognize you or whatever that looks like, okay? When we get through COVID, perhaps it's create a market, a neighborhood flyer or something about market stats in the neighborhood. Or, hey, you know what? Create a Friends of Bayshore Facebook page and help people promote their open houses, or promote their garage sales and events or whatever that looks like. I mean, pick something to hyper focus on. I hyper focus on investors, people buying properties, to create passive cash flow or rehab or flip. Why? It's because it's something I'm personally interested in. And to be honest with you, I could care less about your $1 million house on the hillside. I know that that's great money. I could probably sell it, but I'm really not into that real estate. It doesn't entertain me at all. I mean, I guess I look at it like once you've seen enough solid surface countertops and I've seen enough big fancy flooring, yeah, that's okay. Well, that's good, but you got to pay for that somehow. Let's go find something that makes money. So choose a farm and find something that you're passionate about in an area that you want to work. A farm can be a demographic. It can be geographic. It can be specific. What else can be a farm? A farm can be construction workers. Guys, you could pick a farm that is, people who love cats, right? That is an area of the demographic. It's an area of the market of which you have a passion for, and you find other people that are like you that you market to. A lot of people think that a farm just has to be again, an area, but it isn't. It is any kind of demographic, be it whether mental, physical, location or interest that you can focus on and oversaturate those individuals with your information. So you choose a farm. 3, call to actions 3 weeks. 3 times a week, you should have a call to action. What would be a call to action? Well, if you don't have any listings, how do you find listings? Guys, go find a buyer and then advertise your buyer like a listing, right? Put them on Facebook and go, I've got a buyer looking for this property, and this is awesome. We've looked at everything that's on the market, but if you know and you're thinking about selling your house, you have a property that fixes this, I would really love to hear from you. Here's their interest and here's what they're after. Call me directly and save money, right? Use your buyers as listings to attract listings. What are other call to actions this week, right? Right now we're, I'm trying to think, you could use virtual tours, no hassle listing presentations, but basically there are things that you put out to the public that give people a reason to call you. By the way, an email about a cheesecake recipe is not a reason for people to call you. An email about poodle grooming is not a reason to call you. There's things that are specific about real estate that say, hey, listen. However, all the other stuff is nice. That's, again, those are messages you use in order to identify your farm. And then finally, you should call 10 FSBOs a week, 2 a day. And when I say call, I don't mean leave messages. I mean have in-depth conversations about their needs and what they're looking for. So those may be your 5 action things that you're going to do just to get listings. And they can be different, okay? They don't have to be those things. Again, what you're going to do is as you go through and you apply yourself in this manner, you're going to discover what you're good at and what you're not good at. And it's okay for these to switch. However, I would give something a good 30 days of really diligently. Listen, go after FSBOs. And if you find FSBOs suck and you're not doing it, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, then go to expired listings and canceled listings. But dedicate yourself for 30 days towards giving something all your effort. Maybe your listings is just doing doing part of your getting 40 listings is, right now COVID, but maybe it's door knocking. Maybe it's visiting 10 garage sales a week, 5 garage sales a week, and having a conversation with the seller about why they're selling all their crap and if they thought about moving. You typically find a lot of people that are selling their stuff or thinking about moving their house, right? So same thing applies over on buyer listings, the buyer activities, 2 open houses a month. Visit 3 businesses a week, okay? And that means calls of gratitude. When I say 3 businesses a week, I mean getting some muffins, getting some stuff together. I don't know, some hand sanitizer, whatever you want to do. Go visit businesses and go, you know what? I know it's been really hard for you in this time. I just want to let you know I support you. I have your back. Hey, man, you know what? I love what you've done. I'm glad that you're surviving this. I care about you guys tremendously, and I brought you this item of value. And if you guys have any real estate goals or you have any real estate stuff, you know what? We got to stick together in these times, and I just want to let you know I'm here for you. Go visit businesses and and tell them how much you appreciate them. All right? Tell them that you care about them. Find the businesses you do, find those people that you do businesses with and let them know you got their back and how proud you are, right? By the way, you don't have to do that just because there's a pandemic. You can do that anytime. My first year, by the way, that first year where I did 11 million, almost all my business came from visiting other businesses. Started with my mechanic, started with the people who worked on my truck. I went in there and I'd bring them Costco muffins, the chocolate ones. And I'd said, hey man, you guys kick ass. I really appreciate you guys working on my rig. I know I can always trust you. And you know what? I just want to let you know I owe you big for taking such good care of me. If you ever have any real estate goals, there's anything I can do for you, I just want to let you know I have your back because I owe you. Thanks for not ripping me off. And I just leave them. And I would bring a flyer. I had the 3 best deals. That goes to the number 3 best deals, which is, I don't know if you're interested, but I can give you 3 deals. By the way, if they're a bunch of mechanics, what do you think I would bring them as the 3 best deals? Yeah, houses with either big yards or big garages because mechanics have lots of crap. Okay, so there you go, right? What else would be the 3 best deals, right? Listen, if you got to think about your market and who you're hitting and what they would be interested in. If I was hitting attorneys or I was hitting lawyers or I was hitting stuff like that, you might be looking at like foreclosures or something like that, or cash things or other investment properties. 3 best investment properties, income producing properties, right? What would be another deal of the week? Well, if I was visiting my dentist or I was visiting somebody that's working out of a strip mall, I might be bringing them business on here's the 3 best commercial leases that are on the market, the 3 best spots. And here's a market stat of what stuff is going through for commercial class A and B office space around town if you thought about moving your office. Like, curtail your information for those individuals, those businesses that you're dropping by and seeing. Number 4, I do 1 seminar. I love seminars and I love teaching. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm helping you guys. But what are a seminar you can do? How about this for a seminar, guys? I'm going to give you one that's huge that I've done several times. And most of my business now just shows up in my lap, so I don't have to do. So I haven't done this in some time. But when I was newer in the business, the first couple of years, when I would do open houses, I would make the first 2 hours of my open house invite only for the neighbors. And we would talk about market stats and what's happening in the market, what's going on in their neighborhood, and things that they need to know about. And it was a handwritten invite for neighbors only. And I would have special appetizers and cold Miller Lite in a cooler for anybody that wanted to swing by that was doing yard stuff. This is neighbors only. 2 hours first. You meet your neighbors, find out what your neighbor's house is, and then if you want information on when it sells and what it sells for and that kind of information, you got to show up, you got to meet me. And I would target market. By the way, yes, that's a way to get listings, but it's also a way to get buyers, because if you can list their house and they're looking to sell, you get a buyer on the other side. And 5 is I had on how to get buyer listings, be the problem solver. And that is, I do problem solving marketing. That is, I don't just focus on real estate. I just say, hey, listen, hey, if you're rebuilding a deck, here's something you need to know. Hey, if you have this issue. So just try to, always focus your marketing on being a problem solver and being a resource for them, okay? And then on systems and education. So you can see this, REBA University, teach a class, teach one. So look at this. Again, you want to make $350,000 a year. 1, make sure that you attend classes. 2, why don't you teach a class? You want to master something, by the way, teach it. You teach it. You have to internalize these items in order to teach them. By the way, that's part of the reason I love teaching, because every time I get here and every time I get in front of you, you realize that I'm probably spending an hour and a half or 2 hours previewing the material and going through it before I teach it to you each week, which is probably more time spent educating and knowing my scripts and dialogues than most realtors do in their business in a month, right? Think about that. You want to match it. You come to me and say, I want to teach this class, and I will allow you to teach it to REBA. And by the way, when you're done, You will know that material like nobody's business, and you will discover mastery within teaching. 3, find a mentor. Okay? You can't succeed alone. You guys, within our brokerage, within the world out there, there are individuals that are wiser, smarter, more intelligent, or just more experienced than you. You should really find somebody that you respect and who you want to do business with. And whether that's a business mentor or a spiritual mentor or a relationship mentor, I don't know who that is in your life. It doesn't have to be just real estate, but find somebody, a trusted advisor, and have that individual that you can turn to. We all need that person in your life. Okay. 4, read one leadership book a month. Read something. Be not only building your business, but be building yourself as a human being. And then finally, 5, keep a journal or inspect it weekly. It's not enough just to keep a journal, but if you have accountability partners, you guys should be reading that journal with your accountability partners, right? And then make sure, hey, at the end of the week, did I do what I needed to do? That's why Zach had to eat dog food on our call, if you guys remember that. Let me turn the screen share off. Oh. I'm trying to figure out how to turn the screen share off. Don't know what button. Oh, no, that's not a screen. No. Unmute, ask server, remove, put in writing, non-screen share. All right, I don't know if you guys can see me. I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know if it's still screen sharing. Nope, I don't think it is. Hey, can somebody tell me in the chat, am I still screen sharing? It's off. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you. You know, if it involved like power tools, I would figure it out really quick, but whatever it is, I'm technically challenged. I just know that about myself. Zach, to everyone, it was chilly. Oh, it was nice. It was chilly. Okay, guys. So I'm going to make this PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to send it to Allie, and Allie's going to share it out. We're going to share that. This is session 1. I'll probably put it into a PDF. But guys, how do you build your business if you don't know the foundation of which you're going to build it on? If you don't have a plan for its success, and if you don't know what needs to be laid down first in order to make it happen, is it any surprise? Look how fast it's gone by. Look outside. Look outside. Dude, we're already almost to June. Let that sink in. You guys realize in 20 days, you'll be halfway through the year. In 20 days, half your year is gone. Yeah, we're less than a week and a half away from being halfway to 2021. And a lot of the things perhaps you put into, or the things that you thought that you put in motion, have basically just got kicked down. And it's amazing how fast something like a pandemic can kind of steal your business. But I'm here to tell you that the pandemic, you know, has had some mostly negative consequences on income properties and some other stuff on me. But as far as the real estate sales, we're still managing to pick up listings. There's still people out there who want to sell their property. And what I'm discovering is those individuals that are wanting to sell are that much more motivated. I love this market. Why? Because I love dealing with motivated people. Listen, when everything is fantastic and an orangutan with mittens on can sell real estate, then your value that you bring to the equation is really difficult to justify, right? That's when FSBOs go up, because all you got to do is stick a sign in the yard and, you know, stand out there in a hula skirt, and it sells really quick. Throw it on Craigslist, throw it on Facebook Marketplace when the market's going. But right now, the sellers need your expertise. And for those individuals that are focused on being the experts in the market and understanding statistics and understanding objection handling, you got to understand, you want to say there's an 80-20 rule. It's not. Guys, you realize that 90% of the real estate sales in this state, 90% are done by less than 10% of the realtors or real estate salespeople? Less than 10% of the people with real estate license do 90% of the transactions, right? What's great about that is that that market is still open for anyone. All they've done is master lead generation and lead follow-up and objection handling. I'm really amazed at some of the individuals that I do transactions with, which by the way, are just a train wreck. I'll be honest with you. When you get into a contract with them, you're like, who does your paperwork? This is painful. But they consistently go out and they get business, they get business, get business. Why? Because they're great at lead generating. Now, if you're really good at handling transactions and really good at getting stuff done, but you're horrible at lead generating, well, then here's what happened. Listen, in all things in business, it's either skills or it's effort. It's either a skill-based or it's effort. And if you're really skillful and you're masterful in your contracts, but you're not a lead generator and you don't go out and follow up, well, then guess what? You're like a brain surgeon who's the best in his industry. He's got no clients. On the other side of that is you have tons of effort and you're working really hard, but you got no skills, okay? Well, that means you're not going to get your appointments. You're not going to have your conversions. You're going to go on 6 listing appointments and get none of them, right? And that's also equally frustrating. So as you go through and as you journal, which is critical for you to write down what you're doing, you're going to list every day on what went well and what was the effort, and you can put a skills and an effort. On a scale of 1 to 10, how was your effort? And if your effort was strong, but your results low, then it's a skills issue. And what are the skills I need to build? Right? Inevitably, you'll get good enough. And my goal is, and what I would love to see for you is that you don't need to do 3 hours of lead generating every day. That, by the way, to me is painful. You should eventually get enough and build your sphere and build that group of individuals around you. And we're going to talk about that next week. Next one is going to be on your value proposition and how to build your sphere. Okay, which is the key of your business. That's the stuff Zillow can't take. But then understanding that within that, you need to develop your skill set and understanding that balance between skill and effort, right? So you can apply yourself and you're constantly like, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's an analogy. It says a missile, like a missile, you know, I want you to think how freakishly accurate a missile is, right? One of the military ones, I'm trying to think of the name of one of the, but a missile is off track like over 90% of the time. Over 90% of the time, the missile is not on track to where it needs to be, right? But what does it do? It's always doing micro adjustments. It's micro adjustments. It's micro adjustments, right? The engines are propelling itself and it's putting on the throttle, backing off, putting on throttle, and it's doing micro adjustments. So it's still as freakishly accurate when it hits the target. Same thing with an airplane. Airplanes are generally not exactly on target. They're going off, but they're adjusting their skill, which is their direction, and their effort, which is their engine throttle, constantly to make sure they hit their goals. And that's all it is. And the way you rave that, you put that through your journal. All right, well, we wrapped up. We're perfect. 1 hour and 15 minutes. While we've got a little bit of time here, because my plan was to be done by 12:30, this is your chance right now to ask me any question you want, or if you want to go deeper into this, or if you guys would like to share some of your ahas, I'd love for you to share. And of course, you can mic in. I don't mind. Your voice doesn't offend me. I want you guys to share what part of what we went over today was inspiring to you or was something that you really needed to hear.
I've got to work on my objection handling.
Excellent, James. I love that. So let me ask you, what is some objections that you've run into recently that kind of that threw you for a loop?
I can't even say that it's I think I've just avoided pursuing listing conversations because of my own kind of baggage around list. Yeah, maybe some of the costs involved. So I'm gonna have I think a productive time. Zach and I are already talking about linking up on Mondays to do some conversation.
Excellent. I have some fantastic education on focusing on listings, listing mastery, listing conversions, dealing with objection handling. If you guys want to get together, time block, come see me in my office. I'll let you guys make some copies of some good stuff that I've had. But that's excellent. Congratulations. I love that. Thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And by the way, I'm really excited for James and Zach because when they get listings, they're going to discover that changes their business. When I first got into business, I was that guy who said, you know what, I just know more buyers. I'm going to stick with buyers. And, but you will never get the freedom or get the leverage that you want in this business unless you have listings. All right. Anybody else have anything that they want to share before we wrap up?
The only thing that was an aha for me is I've been coached at and told over the years, but just never really sat down and done, is learning the numbers of my business and setting that up. I think hearing that again kind of got me motivated to where I really need to hammer that out.
Excellent, Jeremy. Now, if that's something I can help you with, you know where to find me. We can go through that real quick. I'd love to know what some of your goals. And by the way, also, if you guys just are trying to set up a 1-3-5, all those action steps are different. You got to play to your strengths. Guys, I'm here. I'm here for you. I love and appreciate every one of you guys. You're not in a vacuum. So if these are some exercises you need some help going through, I'm happy to do that. But Jeremy, that's really awesome. I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely appreciate it.
All right. Anybody else have anything they want to share? I got room for one more before we wrap up. Okay. So the next one. So we're still on Zoom, and we'll continue on Zoom until I can verify that we can get that upstairs class. I would love to start seeing you guys in person again, because then I can get some handouts and we can be going through some stuff, particularly when we get into more advanced stuff, buyer's consultations. I'd love for us to break up and do buyer consultations and needs analysis. We also have a skill set that'll be come up, which is negotiations for win-win negotiations, which is how to negotiate contracts. We'll have some struggles and some trials and tribulations that we're going to exercise through. So all that stuff is great because then we can break up into smaller groups, and I'm literally looking forward. But next week, we're going to build off this. Now that we have our business plan, right, next Tuesday at 11 o'clock, we're going to dig more in depth into building your sphere, touch a little bit more on farm, and your UVP. And each one of you will be required to walk away with a UVP, and I'll be asking 2 or 3 of you to actually share those. We'll be writing those in class. That is very powerful for you to be able to convey your value to a client, be it buyer or seller, right? On why they should be working with you. Again, you cannot give what you do not have. If you do not recognize your value, if you cannot articulate your value, then how do you expect them to understand what your value is? And there's a big difference between ego and being proud and being confident in your ability to serve somebody and assist them, okay? Okay? There's nothing wrong in saying that I care about you and here's the skill sets that I bring in order to help you through this situation, okay? That's not bragging. That's not boasting. That is offering someone something that they need in a time of need. Right? And we'll be talking more about that next week. All right, guys, you guys are all magnificent. You're wonderful. If there's anything I can do, you know where to reach me, and you are free for the rest of the day. Take care.
Thank you, sir.